Hey everyone, welcome to the next part of our adding and subtracting positive integers video. So in the previous video, I talked about the different ways we can add integers, add our whole numbers, and we looked at a couple of things that we noticed happening, some patterns. So we talked about the commutative law in which the order doesn't matter, as well as the associative law, where if we have more than two values, the order in which we add doesn't matter. So I'm going to look at subtraction this time, and we're going to try to look at it through the same lens and see if these ideas that we learned in the previous video apply to subtracting as well. Now, let's just quickly talk about what we mean when we subtract. So if, for example, I did 7 minus 2, when we added, for example, we talked about a number being more than another number. We're adding that number. We're saying, for example, in the previous video, we said 3 more than 4 to show 3 plus 4. But here, this negative sign here tells us that we're going to be subtracting or finding a difference between two numbers. So this here, to write this in a sentence, this is saying, what is 2 less than 7? We're taking 2 away from 7. And in the same way, we're going to draw a number line again, because the number line is a really good way to visualize numbers, and it's especially going to be important to understand when we start going into the negative numbers as well in a later series. We don't have to worry about that just now, but it will come up. So if I write some values all the way up to 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Here, I want to find what is 2 less than 7. Now, let's just have a think. If I'm finding 2 less than 7, do we think our answer is going to be bigger than 7 or smaller than 7? So bigger than our starting point here or smaller than? Well, looking at 2 less than 7, so that implies that my number is going to be smaller. It's going to be somewhere to the left of 7 on this number line. So when we go to the left, our numbers get smaller on our number line. So here I'm starting at 7, and I'm finding 2 less than that. So I'm going to go 2 spots to the left instead of to the right. When we add, we go to the right. When we go to the left on our number line, we subtract. So I'm going 1, 2 spaces to the left. And I get my answer. So 2 less than 7 is going to be 5. So I can write this. 7 minus 2 equals 5. Okay, so let's look at if the same commutative law applies for subtracting. Is it going to be the same? Is 7 minus 2, for example, going to be the same as 2 minus 7? Well, let's have a look. And I'm not going to go too crazy with this example because it's going to introduce a concept that we're going to do way later. But just to show you, get a glimpse of this on a number line, we're going to notice something interesting happening. So say I went 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, here I'm starting at 2, and I'm going 7 spots to the left. So you should be able to see immediately, if I go 1, 2 spots, if I keep going in my left direction, I'm going to get a number smaller than 0. So there's no way when we subtract 7 from 2, we're going to get to 5. The only way we can get from 2 to 5 is to add numbers. So here we notice, and we're not going to talk too much about these numbers in this area of my number line just yet, these numbers that are smaller than 0. But hopefully this just gives you a visual idea that 7 minus 2 does not equal 2 minus 7. So this symbol I've written here, it's just got an equal sign with a line through it. This is just to show that what we have here does not equal what we have here. So just to recap what we've done here, anytime we want to subtract, we can think of ourselves as going to the left of the number line. So looking at another example, if I did, for example, 9 minus 3, I can always draw up my number line. Now here, I'm looking at a number that is 3 less than 9. So let me start from 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it doesn't matter where we start on our number line. This is just to show all of the positive integers, all the positive numbers here. So here, anytime we subtract, we want to say, okay, I'm starting at 9 and I want to find out what's 3 less than that. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 spots to the left, because the answer I get, I'm going to expect a number smaller than 9. So we talked before that when I go in my left direction, that's when I'm subtracting along the number line. So subtracting to the left direction. Cool. So here I've just found 9 less than 3. Well, sorry, 9 minus 3. Or in other words, what is... Oops. Let me write it down here. What is 3 less than 9? That's what I found when I visualized this on my number line. So what did we find? Well, we found that 3 less than 9, or 9 subtracting 3 from that, gives me 6. That's where I end up at. So that's just a really quick summary of subtracting numbers. I hope you've all done these types of questions by now. But in the next video, we're going to look at some strategies for mentally adding and subtracting some even bigger numbers. So in year 7, at least, where year 7 in Australia, where I'm from, there aren't any calculators allowed. So you need to develop the skill of mentally adding and subtracting numbers, which we're going to talk about a lot in the next video. I'll see you there.